I did. We're live.
Hey,
Welcome everyone to the Supper Club. We have some special guests, and we're trying to find Danny out in the internets. So if we want to go ahead and would y'all introduce yourselves?
sure. My name is Asha. I'm from Detroit. I have a company called Trip Slip, and we put together excursions, mainly field trips and experiential learning experiences, but also getaways and excursions for adults to have fun.
Awesome.
And I'm Kelly Crawford. I'm a creative consultant, and I have a youth organization called the Black Luxury Alliance for Cultivated Kids. And I put together lots of cool stuff too. My background is in luxury art, fashion, and design, and I like making things look pretty.
Oh, I like that. Thanks y'all for visiting. And we were chatting online, and Kelly was just letting me know that it was actually that I was talking to her and not Asha. So, but it was nice to chat with you on Facebook Messenger.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, we were together because we were in the same car going on our way to Ottawa.
Gotcha.
So,
And
and we're
yeah, so
only
how did you learn about Idlewild, and what's your connection in
So
hosting
for
these?
me, I'm a lifelong Detroiter, born and raised in Detroit. I'm an intentional Detroiter. Of course, you can't help where you're born, but after college, I went away to an HBCU in the South and came back and lived in Detroit proper. And that was 20 plus years ago in the early 2000s when there was nothing in Detroit. Like there was nothing for people, like people were fleeing in droves. So I made a bet that eventually the city was going to come back. But I also decided that, if all the good people leave, where does that leave us? But I grew up hearing about Idlewild as a kid. And then, of course, the famous movie that I've never seen because it's not actually about our Idlewild comes out, and then people get interested in it again. But I'm an historian, like self-taught. I'm a just like a nerd about facts, and so when the pandemic happened, I'm like, man, it would be great to get out of the city. It would be great to go to a place like Idlewild. I'm sure everyone else had similar thoughts.
Yeah.
But then as the years have gone by, that idea has never escaped me. And so we were at an event. It's called Black Tech Saturdays, where a lot of Black founders and entrepreneurs get together at a co-working space in downtown Detroit or in Corktown, Detroit, called New Lab. And we were here and we were talking about Idlewild. And I said, I want to put together an excursion over Labor Day weekend to take a bunch of tech founders up to Idlewild because it could use, like, it's experienced a lot of what Detroit has experienced,
Mhm.
this divestment, um, things being abandoned and then gentrified. So we wanted to see like how we could contribute. So Kelly and I hopped in the car, 4th of July, and we drove up there like on faith. And the destination was Morton's Motel because we knew that that was in the heart of Idlewild. And we said, we're just going to see who we can meet. And we get up there and had the best time, met some great folks, and we'll be making our third jaunt up there tomorrow. So
Hey.
we actually have an event that we're putting on. It has all come together, and it's called Black to Idlewild. So we're taking Black people back to Idlewild, and we're calling it Black and Wild, no kids allowed. So we're bringing people for a weekend, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, August 31st to September 2nd. We found we didn't realize how close Big Rapids was to Idlewild, so we're actually going to shuttle the people from Big Rapids to Idlewild, but all the activities and everything will happen there. So we have an unbelievable weekend planned for when we come up there. And I'll let Kelly, who has been the curator, co-collaborator extraordinaire, tell you more about that.
So Thursday, we're having a Jokers Are Wild spades tournament. There'll be a chicken and fish fry. It'll be loads of trash talking and a good time.
Drinking.
And then Friday, we will be at the beach. We'll be going to the beach doing some pontoon boating or jet skis, whatever folks want to do. And then that night, we're having our juke joint jump off. And it's going to be a live band and DJ, and it's going to be a one of a kind musical experience that our band and DJ will take our crowd through the ages from the 20s all the way up to now so that people can really feel like they were partying back then. like it was back in the day in Idlewild. And then on Saturday, we're going to have a beautiful brunch and an augmented reality real estate tour so that people can really tour and see around Idlewild, but see what it used to look like. But then through our partner, Brand XR, is going to be augmented reality. So you can see what it used to look like and what it can look like with investment and creativity. So it's going to be a really interesting time.
That's so dope. I was daydreaming actually about having, like, I have a million project ideas, which I'm sure y'all do. And that's what happens when you come to Idlewild. It's like visionary uh Christmas every day, every moment.
Mhm.
But see, to have like one of those Google Maps things where you can walk around kind of like Pokemon Go, but with like
Yep.
history. So it sounds like it's
That's
happening.
exactly what it is.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
So thank you
So
for
it'll be a bus tour. No, for sure.
And we
So
were just like last week, we were just talking about because there are so many people that are still in Idlewild and have a million ideas, and there are unfortunately, a lot of us new folks who are, coming in and we're excited, but some people are like a little Christopher Columbus-y. So I'm like, I have all these ideas, but I don't need to own them because there's no way I will have enough time in like one lifetime to do all this stuff. And we really do need the right folks with the right intentions and community mindset and all that stuff to like get their hands dirty. So I'm really
I'm
glad.
glad you said that because that's really like most of us being Detroiters. Kelly's a native Detroiter who spent a lot of time away and came back to Detroit. But most of the folks who are going are Detroiters, either expats who've moved back to Detroit or folks who have just they've witnessed it. And so it's like we want to pay homage and respect to those who have paved the way for Idlewild to still be a place because despite whatever it's experienced, it's still here. And so it's
Mhm.
like, how can we contribute? How can we help? Like, if you have Black folks, young-ish, who got a little bit of money, who might want to be able to partner with some people who want to do some things to
Mhm.
be able to make sure that the heritage remains intact, that we are being respectful. Like that's why it's contained in the way that it is. Like we're not convoying up there. We have a bus that's going up there. So we don't want people driving all over Idlewild and exploring on their own. It's curated so that we can also help to control sort of how the experience happens in the way that people engage with the folks.
That's beautiful. And did y'all feel like, so this is another thing we talk about a lot, is it after your first or like during your first evening in Idlewild, that's when like everyone kind of comes out of the woodwork, if you will,
We
and you're
haven't
like, oh my
experienced
gosh, this
it
is the
yet.
whole thing. It's like I've arrived in Narnia.
We have
Everybody's
not.
here.
So we're excited for that to actually happen tomorrow because we have come during the day
Hmm.
and have left and had to leave. And
Gotcha.
so we can't wait for that to happen. We were at Peyton's place
Okay.
and the bartender said exactly that. Like it comes alive at night because literally when we came up there, we were like, where are the people?
Where is
All
everybody?
sleeping, y'all, because
They
we
were sleeping off the night before. And then we were like, oh, yesterday you should have been here. So like we went up on the 4th of July and it was just a day trip because we didn't know anything.
Mhm.
So we drove up and then drove back the same day. And then when we went up there the weekend before last, we spent the night in Big Rapids. So we didn't stay in Idlewild, but we'll
But
be
we
there
thought
tomorrow.
even if it was Saturday, we'd see more people. They're like, they come out at night.
We were tired. It was a long drive. Like
And I
we got to the
and
hotel and it's
also
like,
I apologize we didn't get to link up because I was like, oh my gosh, there's so many things going on. But um it's all like backyard parties, or like someone just popped up. Actually, I don't know if you're on Facebook, Idlewild 100, but I
Yes.
think Greg just posted today that they fished like 100 pounds of catfish, and so there's gonna be a fish fry somewhere, and that's how it happens. Like someone will
And
be like,
that's
"Hey,
super
this just
cool.
happened."
yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, if I could just move my house to Ottawa.
right.
If
Oh
it were
yeah,
just me, but I
It's
have children.
stories like
It
that.
was just me. Like,
Yeah.
that's
And
amazing.
that's the beautiful thing. It is stories like that, and that's what folks have been doing, for the last 100 years, and it's so cool to just be like to drop yourself in that river and be like, hell yes, I'm gonna
100
let me
pounds of catfish.
continue. Yeah,
Oh,
and right before we started, you were asking me something, and I was like, let's wait, and I'll tell it on the podcast. But I don't know if you remember what you had said.
I was asking about, like, you said that you're headquartered in Ottawa, and you were gonna tell that story. So
Yes,
like,
yes. Yeah, so we're going on my 3rd year of since I bought my house in 2020.
wow.
And that first year and a half, I was able to stay. Well, I don't know if able is the right. I didn't have anywhere else to go. Which was I loved it, but then also like needing to find a job. The last 2 winters I've gone south to teach. And then come back up in the summer. And this year I got a position at Interlochen, so I could stay all year.
Wow.
Really excited, yeah.
So what do you do at Interlochen?
I'll be teaching. I teach film,
Wow.
and they have this really amazing project. I've been on and off with Interlochen for a while, which has been magical because that's also another really amazing place. And I'm hoping to I'm going to be doing a lot of my own research because I'm working on Idlewild projects, and I'm trying to figure out how connected they might have been or really were.
How far? How far is it?
It's only about an hour.
Okay.
I applied for Interlochen music camp when I was a kid. Yeah.
I never was able to
Several
go.
years in a
Our
row.
peers went to Interlochen, but I never.
They never accepted me. I applied. I was never invited.
What
Interlochen
instrument
and Blue
did you
Lake.
play?
Blue Lake. Did you do Blue Lake?
My brother did Blue Lake. I wasn't good enough. I played percussion.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I played clarinet.
Oh, we got to do a band camp.
Hey, I'll bring my djembe.
Dope. Oh, one of my friends just left that's a drummer too.
No way.
We got to do a drum circle for sure.
I'll bring my djembe or my drum set. You tell me which one. That's amazing.
That's so cool. Do you do wait, what is djembe associated with also? There's
So it's like West African drums. So
right.
Sometimes bongos, congas. It's a hand drum.
But isn't there I guess it's just a bajillion dances, but I was thinking of like capoeira has djembes in it, right?
So almost any, like, there's so many different, and I'm, as a percussionist, I should know more, and now I feel a little ashamed, but many different like martial arts plus dances, and then in the same way that Jamaicans have their little, what are those drums, and there's certain dances that go like there's drums for every culture. So yeah, I'm not well versed in it at all. Sounds like a fun rabbit hole to go down, though.
Totally. Well, I'm glad you're still playing.
Yeah, it was the pandemic brought it back because I was looking for a hobby. I didn't have a drum set, and I found there was some guy on Facebook in Detroit selling djembes, and I was like, I'll take 2, and I got one for my younger daughter, and have been teaching her how to play.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah, she's not any good, but that's she doesn't like practicing.
Maybe she could get to Interlochen though.
Maybe.
Are you in Idlewild?
Oh, right now, no, you missed that part. And I don't know if I said it when we went live, but I'm currently attending Blackstar Film Festival in Philadelphia.
Oh, okay. It's like, I don't recall that large building.
I know. Is there anywhere that is that high up in the woods? When I said it's Narnia, I meant it.
If that was in Ottawa, I think we probably need to pack our bags and move.
Yeah. Are you comfortable in the woods? Being city folk?
I need internet and glamour. I can glamp in a building with woods surrounding.
Yeah.
I thought that's what you meant by woods because I can't do like woods. Like, no. Like, wait, where do we pee? Nope, get somebody else to do it. Yep.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, and then like fishing and stuff. I'm allergic to seafood, so
Mm,
I can't touch fish or anything like
So
that.
what that means is that I get her catfish portion.
for sure. And
Yeah.
there's a lot of other like game options in hunting and stuff. So if you
Yeah,
want to explore other meats.
I would love to hunt something. I've never been hunting before, but got a shotgun.
Oh,
So
okay.
Okay.
Have you been hunting
hunting
other
something.
places?
I know.
No.
I've
Oh
never
my God.
experienced, I've never had an up north experience. And that's
Okay.
like
That's another
in
reason,
my
yeah.
head, it was like when I go up north, I want it to be Idlewild. So
Mhm.
I've been to Saugatuck. That's not really up north. That's the beach.
Mhm.
And that was super recent. And if nothing else, when I came to Idlewild, I'm like, this had to have been what it was like before desegregation. You know,
Mhm.
like it felt like paradise. But
Yeah.
Idlewild felt like my kind of paradise. Like,
No.
because there's black people
Mhm.
and you're not the only black person.
Right.
And also there's black food and there's like, it's quiet and it's not like, all of this, which I
Mhm.
get because there's some of that because you want to capture it. But in Saugatuck, what you saw was people telling people that they're in Saugatuck versus just
Can you
like,
believe it?
look at me.
Yeah.
Look where I am and my fancy bed and breakfast. Like, okay, have fun.
I, on the other hand, would love to be fancy and Idlewild. So that's
Fancy how?
yeah. I would love to have a luxury bed and breakfast in Idlewild. I
There's there's one that just got listed that seemed pretty fancy on the lake, and actually they just posted on Idlewild 100 that they had an open weekend.
I
So it's
wonder if
like
that's one
lakefront.
that I wonder if that's one that I saw because I am Miss Parisian. I want everything super luxurious, and I just happen to be in the middle of the woods on the lake. And like, just have
Mhm.
I want all the things at the same time.
Yeah, I love the whole spectrum. Like I do love camping, but I also love coming home and like having a real deep shower.
Yeah.
Were you like a camper before you
In a
discovered, like
hot
before you moved to Idlewild?
Oh yeah. Well, part of my so to be even weirder and out there and nerdy is
Do it.
a lot of my film practice is science based. So I do experimental, I call it experimental wildlife films. And
Hmm.
I travel when I can with scientists and go on expeditions with them and
Okay.
Oh,
help. And so I'll help them document their research, and then because it's science and it's like they're just using it for their papers. There's no conflict for me to make like weird art with it.
mhm, mhm.
And then, and then I make like these kind of grandiose metaphors about society or race or um, whatever, different
Okay.
identities.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's another rabbit hole. Like I'm looking
Yeah.
forward to that.
It's
Wow.
a good one. It's a real good one. So it's also been kind of another level of a dream come true for me because I wanted to do wildlife film since I was a kid.
Mm,
And it's taken me really up until now to be like, oh, this is how I can actually do it, like sustainably and take care of myself. Because a while back I learned like most wildlife filmmakers, a lot of them are just like um, kind of, I don't know, wealthy or like comfortable
yeah.
couples that just like live out in nature somewhere and they just film all day. And I'm like, oh, so that's what I need to do. How do I do that?
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
So
That's amazing.
yeah, it's really fun.
Yeah, I love film. We're looking to capture some really cool stuff while we're up there, get some interviews, get some cool footage of the events. So I do wardrobe for commercials,
Cool.
and but also had a background in I was repping a fashion film photographer,
Mhm.
or a fashion film director. I'm sorry. And so being in production and shooting beautiful things, I love film and production too. So I'd love to
That's
see
dope.
your stuff.
I wish I had known you just a few weeks before because I just started shooting like an experimental documentary about Idlewild, and it's like gonna have surrealist elements, and so I
Mhm.
started with a mermaid scene, and it was really,
That's
really, really
amazing.
fantastic. So it was both like it felt very luxurious, and I think you would have dug the outfits. I hope.
So we heard that you had, and I saw on your Facebook page, you have some awesome imagery. I don't know if you're like going through people's back rooms, because so I love vintage black glamour,
Yeah,
period.
me too.
20s, 30s, 40s, like I'm all in it.
Hmm.
And so I was looking at some of your posts and I was like, oh my God, I love all the pictures. Um, like, do you know of any people that have like any old costumes from back in the day or clothes or like we're just super enthralled with the history of Idlewild and just
Me
want
too.
to eat it all up.
If you have time, well, that's one of the things, and I would love y'all's input or assistance or whatever on this, because especially as tech folks, that would be really helpful. But a lot of people still have, they're like, they have their archives in shoe boxes, basically, and they're amazing. Like when I started, or when I got to Idlewild, I was reading about the garden club, so which was started in the 50s, and it was at least now I found documents from at least the mid 70s, so it's at least 25 years old. And when I another thing about Idlewild is like I'll start doing something and I'll be like, maybe this could be something that they were doing, and then it turns out that that's exactly what they were doing, and it's so cool. So I was like, wouldn't it be amazing if the garden club just helped people with their yards, because there's a lot of elders in the community.
Mhm.
And so I just started like redoing people's gardens and started a Facebook
Oh,
page. And
Wow.
through the Facebook page, some other folks were like, oh, I have like original garden club things. Let me give them to you. And
Wow.
then other people were just like, "Oh, I have a whole archive you can look at." And I'm like, "Oh my god." So I scanned some stuff, but um that's one of the other unfortunate things. Like you were mentioning the Idlewild film, and there's a lot of there's a Smithsonian Green Book documentary where they feature Idlewild, or they have that little highlighted segment, and then all these like news things, like all the clips you see with Idlewild stuff in it is not owned by the community anymore.
yeah.
And so that's one of my goals in both in like doing the documentary, but also in just community work, is like getting a database set up for the community and having a community archive where if people want to use it, and in a way that is going to make money, the
Mhm.
community gets it back. Because
So
yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was just gonna say, we of course went to the cultural center,
Hmm.
and I still work with. I used to work for, but I still work with the Detroit Historical Society. So the Detroit Historical Society owns and operates the Detroit Historical Museum and Dawson Great Lakes Museum, and the manager of education. I literally ran into her today while I was doing a tour in Detroit, and we were talking about Idlewild, and she's talking about coming up to Idlewild with us. And there's right now an exhibit happening at the Charles H. Wright Museum of African American History about the Green Book. She was telling me today, I had no idea. So of course we're going to go visit that. But it's about the Green Book and about Idlewild. But there has been a push by different communities in Detroit to be able to own and display their work and their stories, but starting off by capturing it digitally.
Mhm.
So some years ago, right before the pandemic, a dear friend of mine who passed away from COVID, unfortunately, was able to do that for Southwest Detroit. So like Mexican Town, but Southwest Detroit is so much more than just the Mexican Town area of Southwest Detroit. But the Detroit Historical Society worked with them for people to bring in their archives for them to get scanned. So now they're part of a digital collection, but
Mhm.
also it tied into an actual physical exhibit. So I wonder if that's something that we might be able to facilitate
Mhm.
along with the historical, the cultural center in Idlewild, because there's a huge interest in that. And they have the ability and the know-how, and they've done it, many times before. So
Totally. Yeah, that would be amazing. And the cultural center, and maybe next time you're around, the Lake County Historical Society in Baldwin has a lot of Idlewild stuff also, and they've been really helpful. And yeah, there's totally room. It's great because I finally got to go to the cultural center like actually a few weeks ago, but they had been closed for most of the pandemic. So I'm really glad that they're open again. And
yeah,
yeah.
So Lake County Historical Society.
Hmm.
Okay, we're gonna have to go up there, but that could be really cool if Asha, if we could incorporate some kind of tech component, the augmented reality,
Hmm.
something.
And also, I'm sorry to cut you off.
No, 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 that
Uh,
it would be cool.
yeah, Chris Greer is another person to connect with. He's working on restoring the library, the old library in Idlewild. It's on Baldwin Road. And I know
mhm,
that he's also the community historian.
that's
I don't know
amazing.
how that works. Like I think it's nominated or something, but he has a lot of he works in a lot of different concentric circles of like historian. I think he had an antique business. It might be still going. He also does diversity and inclusion work and all kinds of different stuff. So he has a show up right now at the Holland Museum.
I saw that.
That
So that is that his. He is the curated, or because I saw a news clip that
yeah,
went up. The exhibit just went up that a while.
yeah, he's the curator, and I believe the contents are all from his like personal collection that he's
Oh,
put together. Yeah, so he has a lot of
is he in the Idlewild 100 group or?
mhm. And I can connect y'all
That'd be
over
great.
email. Yeah, he's really cool. And we've been talking about actually creating like a historical, like a museum garden in the front of the library, because the garden club, because the garden club actually opened the first library in Idlewild also. So
No
they were,
way.
yeah, they did all this, which was also in my like, man, it would be so cool to use this as a way to do community work, and they were doing it. So I don't know, um I haven't found a lot of like letters or notebooks about, their intentions with it, but they organized the first library in Idlewild.
That's
So,
amazing.
yeah.
Yeah, it just keeps getting deeper
I
and
know.
deeper
Oh
and
my
deeper
God, y'all, you
and
don't even
deeper. Like I can see how you could literally go down a rabbit hole and never come back.
know. Mhm. And why would you want to? I think that
And
was their whole idea, is like, this is it. To me, honestly, that's what I keep thinking is, and that's what I've been saying, is that the resort town was just a cover,
Mm,
you
now
know?
it's feeling real Wakandish. It's a
Yep.
couple.
For real. This is what Wakanda is inspired by. And there, I'm sure you know that there are like 30 black resort towns along the East Coast.
I
And
knew like five.
Yeah,
yeah,
we've heard about a few. Um, I recently heard about Chicken Bone Beach.
nice. Where was that one?
Chicken Bone Beach, I believe it was like a little area, like Atlantic City. I feel like was that the first one? It was one that was like the first.
Chicken.
It was like Chicken Bone Beach, and it was because the whole Green Book shoebox lunches. Everybody have their chicken, and so when the people would clean up, they would find these chicken bones, and that's how it got the nickname Chicken Bone Beach. But it was like a corner. I feel like it was Atlantic City,
Okay.
but somewhere over there east. But I think that may have been one of the first. One of them preceded Idlewild. I think Idlewild was the second. Yeah.
That's
I was like, oh, okay. I literally found it out like 2 days ago.
That's so cool.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there's this book called Hammer and Hoe. It's about Black communists from like the 30s through the 60s in rural Alabama. So it's actually like Angela Davis's people.
Wow.
And I've never read a book that like goes into so much detail about community organizing and the ways that we were able to navigate space at that time. And it's like, it feels like the Underground Railroad, in another rendition of it. And then it's almost like to me when I was reading it, it's like a long mic drop and ends with Martin Luther King. And so you're basically like, oh my God. So he did, which you kind of know, but he did not go to the South and radicalize people. He went to the South and the South radicalized him. Like folks were ready and they had this whole plan to like, basically have, a new system. And the resort towns were like, they didn't make this line. This is the line that I'm drawing. But the resort towns could have been like this network that we had, of like, these are safe places we can go, almost like encampments, really, for if you're thinking of like, what are people going to do when you're stranded in a hostile environment, and how are we going to take care of each other?
You go somewhere where there's land and fresh water and fish and 100%.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. So that's my nerd theory.
So what's the name of that book?
Hammer and Hoe.
Hammer and Hoe.
I wanted to write it down, but I'm committed it to memory.
I'm trying to spell it.
Oh, just HAMMER and HOE, like the garden hoe.
Hammer and Hoe.
Hammer and Hoe.
Yeah, because it's all
That's
like.
what I was thinking. I was like, okay.
Yeah, the like legacy of Black farmers and agriculture and how we work.
See.
You know what I mean?
Cover. That's a strong cover.
It's amazing, and it's like, I think almost 30 years old.
Wow.
I just read it a few years ago, and I'm like, how did I not? I mean, it's definitely on all the banned book lists because
I mean, woke.
Yeah. Beyond woke. This is
the original woke.
Yeah.
I mean, when you say Angela Davis, I mean,
and her parents. Oh, and then the other thing is there's that newer Malcolm X book, The Dead Are Rising.
I haven't heard about that one.
It's written by I'm actually not sure how to say his daughter's name. Let me see. But it talks a lot more about his parents, who were also Michiganders from Lansing, and they came up to Idlewild, and so that also was like devastating knowledge of like, oh my gosh, it's all connected and everyone was here.
Yeah.
So it wasn't just the middle class fancy folks, although they were there too, Kelly. So It's like the socialites and the poor cousin. So like I was there.
Yes, absolutely,
Me too. The
absolutely.
poor cousin. The
Yeah.
poor cousins.
Listen,
The fancy poor cousin.
right, I'm a fancy poor cousin.
You're the Parisian cousin.
There are many reasons. Yeah, there's many reasons why we like fancy stuff.
Yes. Man, this is it's literally like a web, and you can go on forever.
Totally.
Because you start reading the books and then you find more books to read, and then you go on a website and it's like, before you know it, you've got 30 open tabs and it's 2 a.m. and I need to go to sleep.
Yep. Or you're at a film festival and you're like, oh my gosh, all these films are like talking about these things and people, and they all connect back to Idlewild. It's like every film I'm at now, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so-and-so's cousin, and like they were probably all hanging out in Idlewild together.
Yeah, that's what I want to find. I want to find more random pictures of people. It's like, wait, that's so and so.
Yes. Oh, actually, this is something. So I do have a bunch, and I'd love to share them with you. And all the things people have been giving me has also inspired another project that I really want to do, which is, it's one of the more simple ones, and it's one that I want to do really soon, is basically get like two, like an 8x8 square, so like 2 pieces of plywood, and then engrave them with a map of Idlewild, and get all these photos and remap it, like where all the old stuff was.
Yeah.
So that's something the community can do, and I would love to help with, and just to see it come together.
So this, we don't want this to be our only time. This is just the first. And so we're looking to build every time we come. And so like this augmented reality tour, this will be the first and the most simple one. But exactly that, like we really would love to see the entire community come alive. And we would definitely need something like that. We need the pictures, we need the whatever footage and pictures that people have to piece it all together.
Well, let's start working on it. I really need help. So
you're here to help.
I'm here to help.
And like Kelly she's very great with taking a vision and making it fabulous.
That's what I need.
Yes, she can take the vision and make it fabulous. I'm a connector. So if nothing else, it's like, oh, this person can do that and this person can do that. We can put these people together, and if nothing else, I can convince people on that.
She pulls all the people. Oh, I know so and so. Oh, I know so and so. She knows somebody everywhere. And if she doesn't have somebody,
I've lived in Detroit my whole life, so I feel like that decision has really paid off, because I have a lot of great like social capital, because I've been here for so long and I've been an entrepreneur for so long. So it's like at some point I've done somebody a favor or introduced them to somebody that helped them, and they're like, oh, I owe you one. It's like, you don't owe me anything, but if you could help me, that'd be great.
Yeah, we need some monies and really a Google sponsorship.
Some lab. Yeah,
totally.
Some internet, so you can't have a bunch of tech founders up there with no Wi-Fi.
Right, and so that's the major thing. Internet.
Totally. And it's been struggled and discussed for a long time. I finally this summer was able to get I think it's T-Mobile Tower. It's like they call it a hotspot, but it's like, no, this looks like a full router thing. Wow. But you just plug it in. But also, so AT&T filled its capacity for their larger hotspot that like is unlimited or whatever. So it's definitely and then there's some places that have fiber internet, but they started around the lakes, which is you'll notice a pattern of like resources
Yeah.
get focused on, start at lakefront, and those folks obviously tend to have more money. And they also aren't year-round residents, so
But
there's like
even internet, we're not even talking about internet. We don't have phone service. We were going through certain parts and GPS went kaput and we're like, we don't know where we're going. We don't know where we're going.
The second time I knew where I was going. You show me one, I'm gonna find it.
That's
I'm
good.
gonna find it.
Yeah.
Because if
Yeah,
you're going the wrong
definitely.
way, the good thing is if you're in Ottawa, just turn around.
Yeah, or
You're on
everything
the
is
lake.
like a square parallel. It's a pretty good grid, I think, unless you're like right on the lake, then you're just going around the wiggly lake road. But it is, and a lot of that stuff too. There's I think people get frustrated trying to get everyone together, but I've been pushing for like, no, if we like stop thinking about, individuals getting internet rather than like it should
The
be
whole time.
Idlewild free internet. Like if New York City can do it, why can't this little place have, all free internet? Or like even looking at all the other infrastructure issues of, let's get community solar, let's get,
Right.
things that are gonna get us a little ahead of the curve, since we need the infrastructure anyway.
No, for sure.
Yeah.
And so how do those conversations begin? Where do they need to start?
And who
Well,
are you guys talking to?
that's a good question. So there's very heated township, local government
We've
meetings.
been hearing little,
Rings.
yeah.
There's a Facebook page called Yates People for Progress. We can debate that title at another time. Or if you keep watching the podcast, you'll hear a few rants from me. But
Do it. We'll encourage it. It's the cutthroat nerd people. We want it. Bring it out.
but they post all the meetings on that page, so it is a good resource. And there's a lot of people that are passionate. I'll put it in those words. But then there's also, and some of the same people have some longstanding personal issues with other folks. Like it is 100-year-old community,
Mm-hmm.
and it's very
What's
small.
what is it? The McCoys and the
Yeah.
what is it?
What is it? The Hancocks or
No, it's the Sums and the
and
McCoys.
the McCoys?
It's something with an H though. Oh gosh. But yes.
You'll
It's
see that.
the age-old battle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's not enough local folks that go. There's a lot of the folks that are going are the seasonal residents, which is important that they're there, but a lot of times they're not thinking about the economic disparity, or like a lot of their strategy tends to be privatization and individualized options versus like there's a lot of historical things that were very strategically like communal shared, um and all that stuff. Oh my gosh, Danny, I think he made it.
We met Danny. We love Danny.
Danny's amazing. Let's see. He's not loaded yet, so I'll wait till his
That's
face.
that internet.
That internet. Yeah, and also actually, so I've been, I put in all the capital for the podcast so far, and so we're trying to monetize the podcast also and get Danny equipment and flesh out just like the system, because also I'm like not I know cameras, but to be doing everything at once is pretty tricky. So hoping to find someone local that we could train up, and actually just developing kind of a whole like media lab for the community, because how did we get the pictures that are old? Someone had to take them, so we need to keep taking and cataloging all that stuff. Okay, Danny's here.
Danny.
Danny, you made it. Oh, are you? You might be frozen. We were just talking about internet.
And he's
Oh, oh, maybe. Well, at least the link worked for him finally. We also have a long running joke about you know, millennials, which I am. Millennials versus boomers.
and here we are, smack dab in the middle as Zennials.
Yes.
I have friends who like, there's no such thing as a Zennial. I'm not a Gen Xer, and I'm not quite a millennial. And to
Mm-hmm.
say that the distinction is that we were adults when 9/11 happened.
Mm.
So many millennials were not, but there's like a micro generation who, yeah. Anyway, very many similarities, but I remember wanting to be a part of Gen X, and they were like, "Nope, it cut off in 1977," and I was born in 1980. So whatever. Who gets to decide? I don't. I mean, I'm a Detroiter. That's my
Yeah,
identification.
I think there's a lot of different ways. Like there's some that are just like fully date. Yeah, like date cutoffs. I think it's like
Hmm.
every 20 years or something. I think I'm right on the cusp too, but I feel like I think I'm definitely a millennial, like pretty solid.
I have
Oh.
millennial tendencies, but
Yeah.
I have a couple of tendencies,
What
but
are they?
but then
I
I'm
mean the tech.
grumpy like
But I'm
a
also still like, I'm an analog girl in a digital world, so
same,
I have
right? Because we're
all,
on the border. We're
yeah, literally on the border.
we're
So like,
both.
yeah, like my older
Yeah.
brother, who's only 3 years older than me, doesn't work an email address. Like, ooh, I don't know how to get to my email. Like, how, bro? Like,
Okay, boomer.
seriously. But I also remember my teacher in high school walking into the classroom and saying, "We have joined the World Wide Web." And it was
Yes.
1996. So,
Yeah.
like,
I
you know,
remember my first website. It was MTV, and it was all like text, and I remember like the little logo, like the little like clip arts were in
Yeah.
there. It was like someone just typed it up on Word, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, it says Alanis Morissette."
I remember my mom every time. She had to be early 2000. Every single time she would ask for like a web address, and I'll be like, so and so.com, www,
Yeah. Slash slash.
www,
right. They gonna give you that. Oh, you want
www.
the whole address? HTTP colon backslash backslash www dot.
I know. Do the childrens even know about HTTP anymore?
No, they don't. And that's the thing. Like, I remember hearing that like they said, Gen Z kids can operate up to 3 screens at a time seamlessly.
Mm,
Uh, Alpha, which I have a Gen Z and an Alpha in the same house, 16
okay.
year old and an almost 17-year-old and a 10-year-old.
Aw.
The alphas can do up to 5 screens at a time. And I was like, that don't feel right. My now 10-year-old used to be on the phone with her grandma with her iPad or tablet in her hand while watching TV. And she was like, I'm like, this is not good. Like, this is not okay. All of this screen time. But it's like they're natives to it. Versus for
Mhm.
me, like, I have to turn the radio down in the car so I can see where I'm going. Like,
I
where's
do
the
that too.
address? You
Yeah,
know?
yeah, I feel you.
Mm,
And I
Where's the
shoot on
address?
film a lot, so there's that too.
No, for sure. For sure.
Mhm. Which also though, because I do teach college usually, and I think there's a resurgence of just like the appreciation of analog, because I think I mean, it makes sense. You're like inundated, with this digital world, and it's like, nah, I want to also turn off these screens, and I think that's really cool. And another reason why places like Idlewild are so important.
For sure.
We're notebook girls though. Like
Okay.
in creating, I have to write. Like it doesn't feel right to do
Yes.
certain things. It just doesn't feel right. I have to write first.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it just
I
doesn't.
agree. I take notes for everything to help me remember.
Mm-hmm.
Shorthand / cursive. So it's like I don't.
That's the other thing.
Shorthand's
They
dying.
don't. They don't.
Shorthand's like
Dying. Shorthand is dead. The fact that
Oh
they
no, I
don't
use it.
teach kids penmanship and cursive is
Mhm.
so bizarre.
Yeah.
It's so bizarre.
I'm lighting up in this hotel, y'all.
Oh, see, she's out of wow. See,
Definitely
Millennial.
wow.
do your thing. She said, "I'm not afraid. You know where I'm from? I go camping for funsies, like
I
camping."
was a little nervous, but my partner was like, "No, do it." Also, the elevator in the hotel, like both when we left for the morning, and I think when I was coming up, like to email someone, it was like, "Who's been hotboxing in this elevator?"
So they won't know where to go. Is the point? It's fine.
That might be the whole point.
And you better not smoke because we can't find you if you are. We won't know where you are. That's amazing.
Oh man.
That's amazing. Yeah, like I know so many people that we've talked to about this trip have never been to Idlewild. So many have heard of it, or maybe they haven't. But then when you start to tell them about it, they get excited and they're like, wait, what?
Mm-hmm.
Or they make the reference to the movie. And I'm like, I've never seen that movie. I will never see that movie. I remember being so excited to hear that they were doing a movie about Idlewild.
Yeah.
And then I was like, wait, it's not in Michigan? I'm not going to see that. And haven't watched it to this day.
I haven't watched it either, but I did hear from community folks that they actually did come and interviewed people.
Oh, really?
But this is another like kind of crappy artist thing. Is they like reworked the stories into this other place and also didn't give Idlewild any credit outside of the name, like taking the name, or like bringing resources back. And it's like, y'all, come
And
on.
I heard that a little bit, but I didn't know how true that was. But that was another reason why I was like, I'll never watch that movie. You'll never. Yeah. I won't even pirate it. Like, I have no interest in watching it. No, thank you. I'll keep my 2 hours to myself. No, thanks.
Well, mine's coming. So.
Hey. So, like, when do you plan to have it done or released, or like, where are you at in the process?
Well, I decided I think I'm gonna release it kind of like an anthology, so that I don't have to worry about having like $1 million right now. I can just like I'm actually gonna shoot the mermaid or release the mermaid scene as a short film. And then over time it'll be like, oh, all these things go together in this cohesive longer
That'll be dope.
Yeah.
Give the people something to look forward to.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing.
A little trail to lead you.
Where are you gonna like screen it? Or you don't know any of that yet?
I don't know any of that yet. We just I haven't even got the footage back because we shot it on 16mm film.
Wow.
So it just got processed, and then
I'm gonna say, how long does that take to edit?
Not as long. So the way that you can do it now is when you send it to get processed, they'll also just scan it and send you a digital copy of the footage. And it's so a lot of people that are shooting on film now, which is coming back, especially actually in the fashion industry and a lot of films, and I think Euphoria too. was all on 16 millimeter. And so there's actually a lot of like processing places are filled to capacity with work.
No way.
And, yeah, and it's pretty easy. You just mail it, and then you get the digital, so you don't have to cut like the film itself, and just you can just keep that preserved.
That's
Yeah, I did that for a VHS tape. I didn't know they did it for 16 mil as well. That's yeah, I did it through Walmart of all places.
Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
actually, I have a deck, so I can digitize VHS to DVD,
Wow.
and then like or put it onto a computer. So that's the kind of stuff, the kind of equipment that I want to put, like, have a little media lab, and people can bring their whatever family memorabilia and digitize it right in the
yeah. I
in-house.
wonder
And
if
then
anybody has any old cameras lying around, like old footage. Do you think?
definitely, I know people do, and I'm just like trying to figure out how to make something nice enough that they'll trust me with their, like, so I don't know what to say yet, but I know that it's there. And there's also a lot of research to be done, because I've been I found some stuff, and this is where like this is where it's also funny, because I think a lot of people are holding on to their um their stuff because they don't want it to be disrespected,
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I understand that, and I'm just trying to be patient, which I moved on to patience in Idlewild. Like, literally, that's the street I live on. So
Wow. I thought
so
it was a phase in your life where you're learning to be patient. No, you live on Patience Road.
yeah,
That's hilarious.
that's the commitment I've made to myself.
Wow.
Mhm.
Patience in Idlewild. Quite literally.
Patience and joy.
Is that the intersection?
Yeah.
Girl.
Wow.
Yes. And this is like, okay, this is the amazing thing about Ida Wilders is Leela Wilson was one of the founding members. She came on the first bus ride and
I
bought
remember Wilson.
Leela Wilson. You probably saw the Big Blue House.
I don't
The
know.
is a Big Blue House by Paradise Lake. And there's
Jackie Wilson's house that where
Joe Lindsay's house?
yes.
Joe Lindsay. Yeah.
But wasn't it Jackie Wilson's house?
Jackie Wilson was up there, but that wasn't where he
okay.
lived. Yeah. The Wilsons owned. I wonder if they were related. Now that you say that, that would be interesting. But yeah, that's something we should check. But she and her husband Herman, I think, were some of the first residents of Idlewild as Idlewild, and she was really into like metaphysics and stuff. And so she like designed that side of Idlewild just around Paradise Lake. She named Paradise Lake, and then she did like all these virtues, and then cities where she hoped Black people would be visiting from.
Wow.
So they're all like, so below all the virtues are, you've got like Toledo, Cleveland, LA, Detroit, Baldwin, which is the neighboring town. I thought it was James Baldwin at first, but I realized it was Baldwin, the city. All the way to like, there's Lima, there's a couple international cities even.
Wow.
And so it's just like, even though we've lost a lot of things, ingrained intention into like every single thing, so that it's like, no, this is the blueprint. If you just like, like if anything, because they knew the danger, and they knew it, like they were, everything is already out to destroy Black people. We've been living with that for hundreds of years, and
Yeah,
so
because they moved. Were they like early 1920s or before then? The Wilson.
1912.
Oh, they were the 1912.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or I
19.
think no, they weren't. The bus ride was 1915.
Oh yeah, it was pretty rough. And
Yeah.
19. Where did they?
Yeah.
Do you know where they came from?
Chicago. And you think of, because all the pictures mostly of Leela Wilson are like, she's like an old granny, like adorable auntie, but they moved here. I think because I got to go through, see some of her granddaughter's archive, and she like saved a lot. It's amazing. And she wrote I think she was like taking some kind of family history class or archiving class or something, because there's just this outline, like an assignment of like, this is Leela Wilson's life history, and it's like all these bullet points. And it had her birthday on there. And then I was like, oh my God, that is like, it was like 1890s or something.
Yeah.
So I was
that's
like, wow,
literally like almost first generation out of slavery.
right. And she, can you imagine like moving to Idlewild in 1912 as a 20-year-old?
No.
So that'd be like right out of undergrad, and you're like, I'm gonna like build Black Eden, and literally does it.
So no, literally Eden. That's exactly what I was thinking. And you're naming things. That's
Paradise.
you're naming this road is going to be this. This
Yes.
body of water is going to be this.
Yes.
That's
It's just like she got to have her own Genesis.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm thinking. That is crazy. You got to name, and it's still named that.
Yeah, she gets to welcome the ark, like Leela Wilson is ushering animals off of the ark. She's like, this is the street I made for you. I mean, no, this is fancy camping. That's what it is.
Amazing.
This is glamour in the woods.
It is.
Yeah.
This shall be named this. I love it.
Black Eden. Man.
That really makes it an entirely different kind of Eden.
Yeah.
When you think about her.
No doubt.
Hey, Alan Hugabook,
Hey.
grew up in Idlewild.
So remember we told you when we went up there with no destination other than Morton's Motel?
Yes.
Alan
we were driving and we happened upon two folks out doing yard work, Alan Hugabook and his sister Debbie. And they literally jumped in my car and drove us around Idlewild and showed us all the places and spaces.
It's because of Alan.
And I've done that before too.
That's
so when he messaged me and let me know about that y'all wanted to connect with people, I was like, oh man. And I just was like, I was trying to figure things out, and then I was like, wait a second.
That's awesome.
I don't need to drop my whole life, but I'm glad
it was Alan and Debbie. Like, if it hadn't been for them, like, we don't know what would have happened.
We saw no one.
We saw nobody, and so we saw them, and we were like, "Oh, Negroes! Oh, hello, Negroes! Hello!
Talk to them.
Help us!"
Because we saw no one. We saw no one, and who we did see, they weren't Black, and so we were like, "Help someone, people."
Yeah, and they were. He gave us the deep history. Literally welcomed us in, and it's like, this is really paradise, because it was it's like if you're here, you're family, and that's how they treated us, like off the top. So it was unbelievable. Gave us a great time, and we left like, can you believe this happened? And so, because if it hadn't, who knows where we would have been? Because we didn't have anything. We just went up there. We didn't know what we were looking for, and man, they opened our eyes and told us the history, because they themselves are like second, third generation Idlewilders, and so it was like, they grew up going up there, and they're also Detroiters. So it's like, man,
Yep.
it was wonderful.
And here's another one. Hey, Steve Blount. What up, though?
Hey,
Steve is like fourth or fifth generation,
what?
and grew up in Detroit, but now is in Indiana,
Hmm.
Amazing.
and is an amazing cook.
Hey,
And so is Danny.
okay.
Oh, Danny didn't say he cooked.
He
Danny
sure didn't.
cooked his
He left that
meal.
out.
He does.
He left that out.
Sometimes he does, though. Like a few weeks ago, he just posted on Facebook one day, I'm making chicken and waffles. Let me know if you want one.
What? I'm
We
here
love
for it.
it.
And I got one, and it was
And I
fantastic.
got one.
I was like, yes, I do. I'll be right there.
Thank you.
Yep.
Hopefully there'll be some chicken and waffles this weekend.
Yes.
Mhm.
Hint, hint, Daddy, if you're listening.
Right.
I'll take a chicken and a waffle.
I'll take two.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, I'm not there, and I'm at this really amazing film festival in Philadelphia. It's beautiful. There's like, every time I leave Idlewild and I'm doing something awesome, I still wish I was doing it there. Like I want to do this right there
That's real.
because it just like accentuates all the magic of it. It's because that's the thing is it's just like being there with other Black people.
100%. I feel that way about Detroit, but
Mhm.
Idlewild to me feels like up north Detroit. Like, because you meet so many people who have ties to Detroit, who have roots in Detroit. So it's like, but I get what you mean. I get what you mean. So where are you from before Idlewild?
I was born in Columbus, Ohio, and then my parents split up. My mom's white, my dad's Black, and my mom went back to where she grew up, which was upstate New York,
Wow.
Oswego, New York.
Wow.
And so we'd like drive through Pennsylvania like several times a year to visit my dad, and it was totally segregated. Like it was pretty much all white in New York, and it was terrible. A lot of the time, like we were like very low income and the only Black kids, so my brother and I, so we just got bullied all year.
Oh my God.
And then we'd get to like Columbus and be with the coolest people on earth and have the greatest time, and I was like, oh,
what a dichotomy. Oh my
it
God.
was wild.
It has to be. Oswego, New York.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
Right. That was a yikes face. Yikes.
That's right.
oh, because there's an Oswego, Michigan, isn't there?
I think there's Newaygo not far from Idlewild, actually.
Oh, it's Ostego.
Oh yeah.
Ostego.
Mm-hmm.
Not Oswego.
That's right.
That's a yikes face for sure. Upstate New York. Because what's his name? David Goggins, the ultra marathon runner. He has a very similar story. Like his parents were, his mom's white, his dad's Black, and they grew up in upstate New York. And he talked about how he was like mercilessly bullied, and they were also like very poor.
Yeah.
So,
it was a thing. And actually, by the time I got to high school, we had this theory that they had a quota, that they had to have 2 Black people per grade. Because that's all there was. I finally had one Black friend in my grade, Nicole Maurice. Oh my God.
remember the first ed last night?
Yes.
Yeah.
Probably thanks to Facebook. I'm ashamed and I guess glad to say, but yeah, man. And so that was the first other Black person I had in my class, and then when we got to sophomore year, suddenly this family moved in. So there's
of other Black people?
Of other Black people. So there's 2 Black freshmen that
No
disappeared in town. So we're like, what?
We've doubled our population.
Yeah.
Hi-ho.
And the year, I think Yeah, the year above me, there were twins.
Wow.
So it was
I
two.
mean, you're counting on fingers.
Yep.
Two there, two more, and then twins. Okay, we're up to six.
Mm-hmm.
Good Lord. I cannot imagine. But Detroit was blackety black. So
Mm-hmm.
like I remember going to public school in fourth grade and there being one white chick in the whole school. She was my best friend. Her name was Caressa.
Mm-hmm.
And like I didn't get it, but they mercilessly bullied her. And I'm like, why? Because she's white? Like, what's the big deal?
Yeah.
Because like the church that I went to, we had plenty of white people. And my mom's best friend was a white lady named Jill who had like strawberry blonde hair and green eyes. And I did not get it.
Hey,
She lasted
Jill.
1 year at that school. Like 1 year. And I never saw her again after fourth grade.
Oh man.
Yeah, it was terrible. And because it was black, black, black. I mean, you're talking mid 80s. So it
Mm-hmm.
was, yeah, Detroit was black, black.
Actually, my great aunt Dolores, who I found out when I got my house, came to Idlewild in the 50s. And I found the friends that she stayed with in the yearbook.
What?
Yeah. So this is the other thing I've been encouraging people. If you all think, that you have relatives that might have been in Idlewild, we can look them up and you might see like which house they stayed in and like they have it's
How?
like really like a yearbook. So
That's a project, the
Wait,
Idlewild yearbook.
how? How?
I know
What do you mean a yearbook?
because this is what I'm saying. It's very literal. They made zines basically every week for 10 years of summers. At least
Wow.
I think over 10 years. And then once a month in the winter, which is also the format of this podcast. That's why we're doing these every Friday. And the idea is like when I wanted to feel like an online speakeasy basically. Everyone, can stop
Oh,
by if you're in town or
oh,
on the live feed people, check in and say hi. And we're just sharing what Idlewild is now because that's what they showed us, like get your story because we're the only ones that can tell our own story.
Mm-hmm.
And they say it, they have forwards for a lot of for every yearbook. So they made one yearbook a year, but then they had the Idlewilder magazine that was
yes, Idlewater Mag.
yeah.
I did see like a page in there, and it said so and so's coming up.
Yeah, oh yeah.
There.
Yeah. I blew up one of the covers and I have a few more for sale if people that might want one. And also I'm working on different things like that too to like generate income for the community.
Yeah.
So that's another project. but I was saying something else.
You were talking about the yearbook. If you know people, you can look them up.
Oh yeah. So if y'all when that would be a cool project for maybe your trip if you have time is just ask people, if they want to write it down or we could if they write beforehand, I might be able to find some people and I could share them with you when you get here.
Yes.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So, and it would be so much easier. It will be so much easier when we have all of this in a database and you can just search it.
100%.
Yeah. So, but I'm so excited about it because I can see it, and it's happening. Like it happened to me. And a few other people that were visiting were like, yeah, we know that our family had this, like, there was one family, the gays, they're like grandparents, I think, had a barber shop. And they're like, we know there was a barber shop here. And so and they saw the photos too. They're like, so if you find anything, and I found them, it was so cool. And
That's
then they were so,
amazing.
yeah. And even my own house, I reconnected with the original family, and they've been sharing, like all these amazing stories, like little Richard and the Supremes stayed in the motel in the backyard.
What?
And they're trying to find their photos. They haven't been able to yet. But I'm like, "Oh my gosh, those are everywhere somewhere. So please, like,
Yes,
take care of your stuff and your elders' stuff. It's really, really important."
it is.
Um,
Ugh,
and my great aunt had pictures of herself in the Flamingo Club.
unbelievable.
Wow.
You
Unbelievable.
know, it's like, oh my gosh, we really were here, just doing the damn thing and being very fancy.
So fancy. Would have
Yeah.
made Kelly proud. So fancy.
Hmm.
So fun.
Yeah.
Um, well, I I can't wait to see all of your pictures that you've scanned, and I was so wish you were there tomorrow because
Me
we will
too.
be there tomorrow. But we
We'll be
shall.
back many times.
Yeah,
Many.
I'm glad you're in, in it for on a deep dive, cuz it's more fun with friends. So,
So Black to Idlewild is going to be like it's established in 2023. We're calling this one Black and Wild, no kids allowed. But we
mhm.
plan to do one sometime around Memorial Day next year. Another one next fall, but we might even do one on the 4th. But like, wouldn't it be great to do like a Friendsgiving in Idlewild?
We have done it.
You know,
It's
but
happening.
I mean to bring
And
like the
also,
concentration of Detroit Negroes.
yes. Yes. This is a huge thing is people need help scaling up their projects because they work so hard and actually there's so many events, like if you want to, you could be exhausted all the time in Idlewild just like trying to go to everything. So
Wow.
that's not the issue. The thing is like the support and tools and resources to make it something that would be enjoyable at a larger scale. Because there's even been times where events are so packed that it's like, oh my gosh, what's going on? Um, there's a lot. And then and another side to that thing is that a lot of people put energy into creating like basically little pop-up markets within the community, but because I think a lot of people are just posting about the events on Facebook.
Mm.
It's only, the community that's really on there and looking at it. So just really like helping people take it to the next level but I think there's a lot of infrastructure that needs to be done before
Mhm.
we get we,
So that's one of the issues that we came across initially. We were like, okay, we'll get Morton's Motel. Oh, it's only 17 rooms. That's not a bus full.
Yeah.
Cool. So maybe we'll go over to Baldwin or Ludington, and then we started calling around, and we didn't get the welcoming feel we had
Mhm.
hoped for from the
Mhm.
folks in Ludington. So
Yeah.
that's why when we found Big Rapids. I'm like, wait, Fair State, and there are chain hotels there. They like money. They won't turn us down. So
Mhm.
that's where it's like, okay, we'll have to just shuttle the people, which
Yeah,
we would have had to have done from Ludington to Ottawa anyway.
we
Mhm.
really wanted to put the money in the community, but there was no place,
Yeah.
to hold that many people.
Well, something I've been thinking of is and trying to do is encouraging to work in some kind of community service event while you're here, especially in this like early stage, because that's one of the big things is that just people don't have resources to expand, or to like put in to do landscaping, or whatever.
We're
Um,
definitely open to suggestions because like that's something that we can organize an event around because
mhm.
there's so
Even
many
a trash
programs.
pickup.
Yeah, there's so many programs like the city of Detroit will do. and we could bring a couple bus loads of kids up here to do a trash pickup, do a beach cleanup, while they're learning about Ottawa, and it's a fun little field trip. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? So,
totally.
like, we're definitely would love to talk about that and to see how, because like back in the day in the 80s, so I'm definitely dating myself, but back in the day they used to say we all we need, or they used to say we all we got. But I'm a fan of thinking that we're all we need. If Black folks really learn how to work together in the way that other communities do, then our dollars would circulate longer.
Yes.
Our communities would grow. We all know the statistics when it comes to the economics of the Black dollar. Like, we generate as Black people like the size of a decent country, like $1 trillion in spending power that we have, but it only stays in our community for an hour because we don't own anything. So when I get paid, if I'm an average Black person, first thing I do when I get paid is what? Go fill up my tank with gas. And I'm probably going in Detroit to an Arabone gas station. And if I'm going to get my hair done, I got to go to the beauty supply store. So that's going to be owned by an Asian. And okay, my hairdresser's probably Black. So okay, there's $1 that's going back to the Black community. And maybe my dinner is going to be a soul food restaurant. But what else am I doing to make sure that the dollar is staying in my Black community versus Jewish people who are able to keep it in their community for 2 weeks, and Arabs or Asians who can keep it in their community for 10 days, Arabs 7 days. I think they said white folks is between 5 and 7 days, but Black people it's an hour. So not even 24 hours. So when we think about what it is that we can do to contribute and make our money go further, instead of going and have an up north experience where we're really not even celebrated, we're just tolerated.
Yeah.
Wow. Go somewhere where it's like, hey, brother man, like the fact that Alan and Debbie literally took us under their wing and drove us around for hours.
It was longer than an hour. It was like 2
hours. It was like 3 hours. Yes.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
That
thanks
was
thanks for the perfect song drop, Steve. He said we all we need 70s.
Hey, we all we need.
Yeah. Wait, is that the one?
For all I need to get by.
Get by. Is that the one you were thinking? And then he also said several Black-owned gas stations in Detroit. Choose wisely.
Oh, I don't know.
I've been not happy. There's one by my house that I refuse to go to because you'll go and they don't have regular gas, or you go in there and it smells like God only knows what, or there's no products. So that's the problem that I have. Like, I want to spend my money with Black folks.
Yeah. Well, actually, this is another thing is we got to connect you with the Martin family because we do have a African American Chamber of Commerce in Idlewild.
Amazing.
But and they host a lot of the really great events over the summer, and they take care of Meeks Park where a lot of the events are held, but actually they're getting so big that they're moving locations. But I was already talking to them about working on a way to get more, just like help different people that are trying to start businesses in Idlewild. And actually Debbie is one of those people, because she's building the Idlewild
camp. Black Eden, yeah.
Black Eden
Acres, yes.
Yeah.
Who's a part of the commerce?
Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah.
They're actually the festival this weekend is run by Charles and I'm just blanking on her name. Oh no. Janet. No, Martin. And their Janet's dad, John Meeks, was one of the few folks that was really organizing and taking care of Idlewild through like the 80s and 90s.
Yeah, I saw that he was the owner of Morton's before this owner.
And up until he passed just a few years ago. Yeah. So his family is carrying on the legacy, and they are really open to getting more help, just like helping people. And so that's another thing that, if for people that are looking for places to get in and help out, that would be really awesome.
Perfect.
Yeah. And I actually worked for a business development organization like in LA, so I can help. And I've told them, but it's just like time. There's a lot of different things. There's a lot of different things I've told you guys that I'm doing. Yeah.
I mean, every true entrepreneur is doing a million things at once.
Exactly.
The
But
goal is
I don't need to be. So if you know someone,
do.
yeah.
But I mean, sometimes, and Kelly and I were just talking about it, like ideas rest on people who can actually have the capacity or at least the community to get it done. So a lot of times people who have a lot of ideas share them and then that idea can float to someone else and get done. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean,
Well, this is another thing where how like the different projects connect. So Idlewild used to have several gas stations, and they and that's actually something that should be looked at as an environmental concern, because who
what
knows,
happened to them?
yeah, who knows if they were
Remediated properly.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
right.
Lord.
Yeah, but also you don't want to just put like make another gas station location if you don't have to. So
What happened to the tanks? Were they taken out? Did
right,
they
right.
do the
So
redevelopment properly?
it could be a good way to figure out like, oh, this is where we could put a gas station for Idlewild and make sure.
That's interesting. I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
There's so many things. So don't feel bad. You're doing a lot of things, but a lot of things need to be done.
Yeah.
True.
And stuff is happening. It's really exciting.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So I'm glad I'm glad y'all are here.
We're coming. Can't wait to
Welcome
come back.
aboard.
Hey, no, it's exciting, and the more people we talk to, the more folks are who are like, oh, wait a minute, yeah. So
Yeah, and it's so cool to be at a place like Blackstar and see who knows about Idlewild and what folks know, and everyone's so like amazing and talented. So something will come of it.
yes,
Yeah.
especially once your anthology is released.
Yeah.
Yes.
Man,
Well,
is Danny not joining us?
I feel like he must have given up.
I think he gave up. He probably got hungry at 7:30.
Yeah. But this is actually the first time this has happened, so that's pretty
No
cool.
way.
This is like our 13th show.
Okay. Yeah, I
We
see
did-
that in the corner. Season 1, episode 13. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's flying by, and it's actually been really, like, I get really stressed about stuff, but every week it just works out, and it's really
Hey,
cool.
that's awesome.
Yeah. And we're like, wow, we got a lot done. Or it just feels good, I think, to talk about Idlewild. It's
It
really good.
does.
It does.
It really does.
Mm-hmm.
And you let us know how we can help you. I know that more will come up as we, have more conversations and when we meet face to face. But like I'm already bursting with ideas of what
Yeah.
we do.
Well, actually, I think today is the land auction. So if you are looking for property and you need,
It's
Is that
today.
I think it's right now.
the Lake County one?
Yeah, Lake County.
Yeah, Tasha over at Peyton's was telling me about it.
So being a landowner this has been an interesting thing too, to see. About a month ago, I think now, I went to an archive in Minnesota because they had some stuff about Idlewild that I wanted to look at. And it was from this geographer that did a piece on Idlewild in the 60s.
Mm-hmm.
And it's this white dude, so it is like really racist at times. But it's also interesting, like the things that he documented, and to be like, why did he write it that way? And I guess it like makes his bias really evident. So it's actually, to me, it's kind of easier to read because you're like, oh, I can see where his perspective is. But anyway, he talks about and confirms or reaffirms that Idlewild was very clearly run by Black women.
Mm.
And I'm pretty sure it was, I want to like confirm this, with data, but I'm pretty sure that it was probably the highest rate of like Black women owning land.
No way.
Yeah. And running businesses.
Amazing. No wonder they wouldn't let it last.
But it's been interesting even just seeing the short documentaries that have come out in the last 20 years or whatever. A lot of them are on YouTube. It's mostly all Black guys talking about it.
Mm.
Yes. I've seen the
Interesting.
amateur Black dude historians.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a whole thing.
Interesting.
And there's a lot of different interesting hang-ups that people seem to have, like very hyper masculine. So there's a lot of queer history that's been just not talked about, but but is even more exciting to me. It's like, can you imagine the motherland in it is literally like Wakanda in US, and it's still happening.
Wow.
If you want to see it.
Right, right.
if you can prove yourself worthy.
Yeah.
Man. But it's how so what is a good way to be able to, I don't want to say capture the narrative, but like help tell the truth and not it being subjugated and retold and man washed or whatever you want to call it.
And washed, yeah. That's a good one.
Because I mean, we already know it's been whitewashed, but I mean, what else is happening to it?
That's hilarious. I'm gonna do something with man washed if you don't.
Go for it.
That's gotta be documented. I think we just gotta figure out, what your medium is. And it seems like you're already doing that. So
That's a good start.
yeah. I think we just gotta keep talking and being like, yeah. What are we doing this week?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I'm with it.
Okay, I think that I don't know your schedule, but we love to figure out how to get some images that you've captured to help promote and tell the story of folks. Um,
Just send me your email. I have them all in a
drive.
Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, because you've done so much great work, so we want to share it and credit you.
And I do have an Instagram. If that would actually be a great project if you wanted to jump in on. I've been working with students who really are excited to help in our remote, like the students of mine from the last year from North Carolina. So, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
That'll be great.
Okay.
And also just for the podcasters, if you want to follow on Instagram, I have an account called Black Eden underscore Idlewild, where I've been posting some of the posts that you saw of history, but because of time constraints, I haven't done as much as I would like to. So yes, I'm so excited for help. And there's so much cool stuff to see. And like I've also been taking photos, like images from those zines, and making collages of on different things that I really am enjoying making.
Yeah. Keep in mind the costume and any clothes you might find.
Yes, and I do have
Yeah.
actually. There's the fashion show coming up,
When
um,
is that?
and I gave them a bunch of my wardrobe because I have a lot of vintage clothes.
When is that happening?
I think it's August 13th.
Next week.
August
Somebody else to
13th.
do it. I
You're gonna
cannot drive
you're
back.
gonna be coming up every weekend.
I shan't. I shan't. I shan't.
Well,
When
I
is
also
my
this
weekend?
is another idea. If you just come up with a day, I another scene that I did was I just hosted a tea party and I invited everyone to come in like 60s outfits.
That's
Um,
adorable.
and so I would love to do that again. And a few other people from Garden Club actually wanted to help organize it.
That sounds amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
See, that's we're at
So
some point. It's what it have to buy a house in Idlewild to
yes.
justify.
And
Oh,
and
that's always been a dream.
yeah,
But
you
that was one of
got
the
to.
reasons why the real estate tour is happening because it's like
Yeah.
what's actually available because you
Hmm.
see driving around Ottawa, you see properties that you know someone owns that no one lives in that doesn't appear to be developed. So it's like, can I buy it? Is it for
Hmm.
sale? If I do buy it, can I put a house on it? How does that
Yeah.
work? Is it a double
Well,
wide?
this is another thing that I would really love that I want to start doing is just sending people pitches for their property. Like I see, you own this house and I think it's adorable. Could I lease it for like 10 years and do these improvements?
Wow,
Which for me would just be I'm a history nerd, so I just want to preserve, like bring everything back, to like what it would have looked like in its highest
Yeah.
version of itself.
Yeah.
Um, and I also come from a building family, so
Mhm.
the those like the details in the houses in Idlewild um make me feel really emotional and
mm,
and just like bring me so much joy, and I just want to
Mhm.
make sure that they can last.
And
Um
see, I love interiors. I love
mhm. Oh
designs.
my god, there's so many. Oh my gosh. There's so many like adorable, amazing details, even in structures that are like about to fall down. And I'm like, please don't just bulldoze things, like let's be tender and like see, even if it needs to be taken down,
deconstruct
you
it
can like
instead of
remake a
bulldozing.
right, you can remake a blueprint, you can take really great pictures and reconstruct them digitally. There and my house actually is getting 3D, like I'm making a 3D printed model of it, and then I'm gonna make all these different things that we could sell to like help fundraise. So I'm trying to do like all the things I want to help other people with at my house first as like
You're
a
the case study.
prototype, so I
Yeah.
can be like, this is what it's gonna look like, and I would love to do it here.
Mhm.
And then, but maybe this structure would be like a little cafe,
Mhm.
or this one will be a community museum, or this is the
Mhm.
new salon and barber shop, and it's like a 50s salon.
Yeah. Are there any like antiques around antique?
There's one in Baldwin, but there definitely should be one in Idlewild. And then, okay, the other thing that kind of runs like the restoration projects is I want to the township building was an old schoolhouse that was built
Hmm.
in the 60s, and
Alan showed us. He took us
oh,
over there. Yes.
it's like, isn't it like, it's just like drool worthy mid-century modern. It's amazing. It's so cute, and I want to get that turned back, or not turned back into a school, but it would be a preservation school for um, construction. There's only 9 other construction trade schools that focus on preservation,
Hmm.
and then you could do things like everything from finding a cute vintage wallpaper pattern, scanning it, and like,
Mhm.
reprinting vintage patterns,
Reproducing it. Mhm.
restoring furniture, restoring vintage appliances, and then those could be put into a store, so that maybe like local, if you buy something for a house in Idlewild, it's you get a discount, or if we get more of a film industry flow coming through, it would be, you could rent things for props, and they'd be right there, or you can buy, just buy them, like come through. There's so many antique malls in like weird rural
Mhm.
spots, and I've gone like I've driven hours to just to go to an antique spot. I would love to do that in Idlewild,
Yeah.
We
and to
definitely drove past more than our fair share
mhm.
on the way up there, but
And
not.
another thing that just happened, because it's all like, literally, I come from a building family and a lot of stuff was built in Ohio. I get to find like, I found a medicine cabinet that's in my bathroom now, and this, the little like factory sticker was Cincinnati, Ohio.
That's
And there's a little section of my kitchen that was in the motel.
Oh.
So like a vintage, um they had upgraded it, to like the particle board cabinets, and I was like, I needed to redo my whole front of my house because there was a mold problem. And
mm,
so I was like, well, let me just like restore it in the process. So I found vintage metal cabinets that then I found out are the same brand that Frank Lloyd Wright used in Falling Waters. So I'm like,
yeah.
ooh, architectural design nerd. And I got the motel cabinet fits now. It like blends in with it, but it's from, I think that one's from Cleveland, Ohio, or I'm pretty sure. Um,
Wow,
but that, it's just like extra layers, and I love details and systems, and like all these things working together is so exciting.
that is exciting, man.
So that's my ideas.
For now.
For
For
now, right?
Yeah,
So many more.
today. For
there's
today.
but okay, we have like 15 minutes left. Here's the last story I'll share. Story idea is the idea that it could be, there's no other, um the idea of living museums.
Hmm.
There's no living museum with a black focus not that doesn't involve slavery,
This is true.
or any,
Very
like,
true.
there's not one with that, is like in a nice joyful place.
No,
Can you
you're 100%
imagine?
right. Yes, I can. A performing living museum.
And
That would be insane.
everyone is in, like, so this is the new cover, you know?
That would be insane.
Can you imagine?
Yes.
Yes.
And then you could actually be a kid and get a job in Idlewild for the summer.
Versus, oh, I want to go watch the slaves.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's literally what the Living Museum in Michigan is. It's the Underground Railroad, and you're gonna
Right.
see, yes, the boss. No, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
You're 100% right.
Imagine seeing like um the daddy train pull up on a Friday night and there's like a bunch of Pullman porters
That would be amazing.
and maybe they break out and dance.
You're in a flash mob.
Yeah, they
Flash
flash
mob.
mob Idlewild, and then everyone meets up at the Flamingo Club, and you get to see like
Man,
Little Richard
that would be
impersonator.
insane.
That would be crazy.
Wouldn't that
That
be
would be
amazing?
amazing. It would. It
So
would.
that's where all the money comes from. Is us actually just having the time of our lives.
So there was a tour that I was putting together in late 2019 for Halloween of 2020. Still faded.
And then what happened?
I mean, cool thing, couldn't drive, couldn't go anywhere. Nobody wanted to be on a bus, but we were going to do a bus tour um, for Halloween and have like a Houdini on the bus. And then we would go to a living museum, but a museum tour on a bus because everything that I do entrepreneurially is centered around mobility. And so the idea that you could have a bus, very much like the bus or the train that used to bring people up to Ottawa, and you go from these different places uh, to see the different performers would be amazing.
Yeah.
Ugh. Hmm.
Yep.
What are we
And
gonna do with all these ideas?
I know it's hard. And then what if like so I had this other I lied, that wasn't even the last one I was gonna share. Before Idlewild gets to that place where it's just like everything's finished, I was like, oh well, I'll just start making the little vignettes of them. So actually the film is also like the blueprint for the future.
Wow.
So, is there a train that still goes to Baldwin?
No, but there is a trail. It's called Rail to Trail. So where the train
Right.
used to be is a gravel path.
That's what they're
So
doing here.
you could do like a bike train. Like, have you ever seen those they're like at Burning Man?
I've never been to Burning
I
Man.
think that's where they were first built. It's like a table and there's pedal chairs on each side.
We're
like a
we're
bar.
quite familiar
You are?
with the pedal butts, pedal.
Oh, the petty bikes.
Petty bike?
The ones, the drinking things
That's
that you.
drinking bike? The bar bike or something.
So
So
there's petty bikes, which is like the things that they use over in Europe, where it's like a bicycle and there's a little seat in the back.
yeah, and in New York, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But then there's the bar, the biking, where you're pretending to pedal while you're drinking, riding very slowly down the street. So
Mhm.
annoying. There's so much because the people act like they've never had a drink before, so they're on there blasting music, going
Yeah.
4 miles an hour on a main street,
And you can't be behind them.
and they're
No.
still like, "Ah!" It's like
woo, this is the best. Woo.
you're pedaling for no reason. He doesn't need you to pedal. Stop pedaling.
Yeah, look at me just sitting.
Look, it's the pedal bar. Ah! And they're playing stupid music and they're screaming and they're because you've never had a drink before. You're outside drinking on a bike. Congratulations.
That part is like not necessary, but my thinking was that could be like a little like a throwback to a train. Like we could build that into a train car.
I love that idea. No, for sure. Or like there's trolley buses that
Mhm.
looks like the old trolley cars, but it's a
Yeah,
bus.
that would be
Um,
cute.
I would
Yeah.
love that. The train, though, the romance of the train and getting off of the train.
Gotta fancy it up.
I mean, people that
But
got on the train were not all fancy, but you get all the drama around it, like to the
and no,
fun
that's
part.
actually one of the big things is it made Idlewild more accessible to more
Mhm.
people. Like you could be someone that didn't own a car and still
Yeah.
get there.
Mhm.
That's huge.
Big time.
Yeah.
So you said the closest train is where?
Um well, the tracks were torn out. But it used to come right into Baldwin,
Yeah.
the town next door. And there's a postcard that says I think it was like 12 passenger trains a day would come through.
No way.
Wow.
When did that stop?
You said it's a postcard?
Hmm. I
When
think
did
it's
that
from like
stop?
the 20s or 30s. I believe I think I've heard the 70s. And that's another thing is like going through all these trying going through even the township archives and finding those times and figuring out like what the conversation was around why they would why they would destroy their own economy.
Hmm.
um or were like people aware that that would be as destructive as it was
To tear
Mhm.
the tracks.
tearing out the tracks.
Like, what was the push behind it? Like, what made them decide that was a good move?
I don't know, but I mean, we have films like Who Framed Roger Rabbit, that like talk about a lot of that film is about transportation and
Really?
yeah, and the politics of LA. Yeah.
I
Yeah,
hate that movie.
we're
Like
gonna have
when
to
I was a
watch it
kid,
now.
I watched it, and I was my oldest daughter was just watching it like last week, and I was like, this again. Like it was revolutionary when it came out, but then I'm like, as a teenager, because it came out when I was maybe a tween, and
Mhm.
then as a teenager, I was like, this movie is dumb, and so I never watched it again until like I don't know a couple years ago, and I was like, still dumb. But now I want to watch it with that lens because I never even really thought about it like that.
Mhm.
Wow.
Yeah.
But you were saying the correlation between Who Framed Roger Rabbit and them tearing out the tracks is what?
Because they really have it's basically like the villain in Who Framed Roger Rabbit is gentrification and like corporate takeover.
Ooh, holy cow. Now I'm gonna love this movie. Even
But
more.
also like Blazing Saddles is 100%. It's just basically just Idlewild.
Really?
Yeah, yeah, and that's another thing I would love to do is show these films in Idlewild and talk about them.
Oh, how they correlate,
Hmm.
they connect. Yeah.
And see what people think. Because I know folks have seen them, and I know they're brilliant people. So it would be so fun to see what everyone thinks about it.
I've never seen Blazing Saddles.
Mm.
I've heard of it.
Woo! It's real fun. Check
Yeah.
it out.
I thought it was like a cowboy movie. So
I thought it was too.
I would not be interested in watching a cowboy movie, especially as a kid. But now that I know it's about Idlewild, I will watch it. You're giving us homework here, Lydia.
What
Homework,
you doing? That's exactly what
No, I
you're
have to drive 4 hours to get to Idlewild. And
summer
back.
school.
Oh, summer school, no kids allowed. Not for kids. Man,
There's a bar in LA called Public School, I think.
doing. Mm-hmm.
Have you been, about it?
I've heard of
Yeah.
some public something, school something.
It's pretty cute.
public school bar. Interesting. No minors.
And they're all like they have a big open wall and it's all school themed.
Now I want to go. I've never been to LA, so that's on the list. I've been to the
I
Bay.
feel like you're really easy. Like you're excited about doing everything.
I haven't done much these last 40 years.
Oh
That's
yeah.
what
Oh
bad,
yeah. I guess.
bad marriages will do that to you. Have you stuck going
Oh,
nowhere. So get divorced and free. I can do me.
that would be a fun thing to start as a divorce party. Idlewild divorce parties.
Like a retreat.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. That'd be black and wild for sure.
No spouses allowed.
Divorced and wild.
Oh,
No kids.
also, I have a few. When I first got to Idlewild, I did a few interviews and I put them on YouTube, and they're called Black to Eden.
Hey.
Yeah, which reminded me of your.
Oh, really? Do you have a drop? Send us the link.
I will. I should do that now, or else I'll forget. And we're down to 4 minutes, y'all. How did this happen? It happens every week. I don't know.
Flew by. Great conversations.
And the funny thing is, I'm actually. I don't. Well, that's another pandemic thing. Is I haven't talked a lot.
His silence.
And I kind of liked it.
Mm.
But I also have thought about a lot of things and I want to talk about them. So it's a nice little is that you, Danny?
Who's the supper club?
Do you see the comments?
I noticed them maybe 20 minutes ago.
I'm sorry, I should have said that. The Supper Club just messaged, and that's a shared page that Danny and I run. So I'm assuming that's him, or it's a bot, and it's hacked, and it hacked our page.
And it's autonomous.
And we've been commandeered by AI. It took 13 episodes. See y'all later.
You made it. You made it. AI wants a part of it.
Beep beep boop. One of the coolest films that I saw so far is Going to Mars, the Nikki Giovanni project. It was gorgeous, and it was so cool because the filmmakers were saying that they didn't see it as a like a biopic. They saw it as a poem. And it was really, really beautiful. And it had a lot of parallels to like how I've been thinking about my Idlewild film. So it was really exciting to see. That it feels like this is all part of a bigger moment. And I'm really glad to be experiencing it live.
Live on stage. Live on stage.
Live and in the hotel room.
All the way from Philadelphia.
Philly, Detroit.
All talking about Idlewild.
Idlewild. Yeah, and we had some in 1 week I was in Austria, and the next week I was in Germany. And I was talking about Idlewild everywhere. So it's fun to feel like we can all be
connected.
The Idlewild review.
Yeah.
You know, for whoever is interested.
It's amazing how these places like Idlewild are iconic. Detroit is iconic. I was in Austin, Texas, in an elevator. I was there for South by Southwest, and this lady complimented the jewelry in my hair, and I said, "Oh," she said, "We don't have that." And she was from Germany, And I said, "Oh, Detroit is different." And she said, "You're from Detroit?" And I said, "Yeah." And she said, "My mother was born in Detroit." And I'm like, "How did you end up in Germany?" It was just this really cool like story of how her black mom ended up in Germany, marrying her white dad, and her name is Felicia with like a weird German last name. I'm like, that's a very Detroit story. And she's like, "This is so amazing."
This is so amazing.
She was really, I mean, I was too. I'm like, this random connection of us being in an
It
elevator.
clearly was not random because that can't be random.
That's true.
But it's been, yeah, but stuff like that's been happening all the time lately. It's just like this
The
like
world
wild
getting smaller, man.
wild energy.
It is. It is. And it's palpable. Like you can feel it when you're there.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then the people, like we have not had a negative interaction. Not one. Not one. Everybody's been so open and receptive.
Just you wait. I mean, there's definitely that too. But
I mean, even if it's bound to happen, of course.
Yeah.
But it hasn't happened yet, which is amazing.
It's for real family though.
It feels that way.
Like
It feels that way.
I don't know how it's gonna work out, but
It will.
It will. And let's end it there.
Yeah. Black2idlewild.com.
Idlewild. Thank you so much for visiting. And I'm so excited to have you around.
We're excited to be around. We'll be back. We'll be there tomorrow. We'll be there definitely August 31st to September 2nd.
Yay.
And a
See you
few
next
days
week,
before.
y'all.
True story. You too. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.